my peeps. Christine Durfee, LPC here, and I am going to talk today about some social skills. I work with a lot of children that are on the spectrum or children through various traumas, whether head traumas or emotional traumas, kind of lose that ability to identify appropriate social skills. And I've worked a lot with teenagers that may not understand the safety or lack of safety in interacting with others. And that becomes a very big concern for parents. And I talked about before in previous videos about Temple Grandin and how she talks about how some brains just need to learn in pictures, not by speaking. And so I created some pictures here, and I thought I would just go through with them with you. And if you find this useful, yay! And if you don't, then oh well. So I have a picture here of this little guy right here, and he's going to be our teenager, and we're going to call him Joe. Okay, so Joe here, he's confused as to why other kids may not be liking him or wanting to interact with him. He's got great skills in other areas like sports or music or learning academically in school. And he's just like, why am I not having the friendships that I'm so desperately wanting? And so some of the social skills, I used recycled paper here, so trying to keep the back sides covered. But some of the social skills that we talk about is just talking, texting on our phones, and even with gaming, because in the gaming world, people communicate with each other. But really, a lot of it is talking and texting that we're going to talk about. And so when we do talk about social skills, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't turn out backwards on the video. We'll figure it out. Anyways, what we talk about are what are helpful and hurtful skills. And so for the first one, I talk about speaking with others, the social skills, good things that are helpful, talking about music or movies or sports, things that we're interested in. Those are helpful talking conversations. What's hurtful is talking about parts of the body, about sex, about looks. That can be very hurtful. Some people may find it more hurtful than others that can get us into trouble, and we're going to cover that. For touching, for example, holding hands or even kissing, that when it's helpful is if permission is granted first. And so for our guy, Joe, he would need to ask permission and not just touch without asking permission. So the helpful is asking permission. The hurtful is touching without permission. And helpful is looking at people. Looking is a part of social communication as well. There's social skills. So we look at people in their eyes. The hurtful is looking at people in their private part areas, at the body parts that are private. Okay. Now this is Joe, and Joe made the mistake of texting something that was hurtful. I've had a lot of teenage boys that have done that unknowingly. They don't understand because their social skills are not quite intact. And so Joe has texted something hurtful to his friend or somebody from school or somebody that he knows, and we're going to call her Susan. And so he texted something to Susan that startled her. She did not feel good about it. She did not appreciate it, and it made her very upset Joe didn't realize that. He didn't know that. Susan went to her parents and to the police and showed the text to the police. That got Joe into big trouble. And Joe still, he just did not understand why it got him into big trouble. But Joe's going to have to learn about social skills. He's so smart and he's got so many skills in other areas, but this area is going to get him in trouble if he doesn't understand it. So Susan went to the police who made a report, and Joe got into big trouble. Susan also went to her friends and shared with them the texts. And the friends were like, oh, how dare he? Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Which then makes Joe feel really badly. And so when Joe shows up at school, of course, these girls don't want to talk to him, Susie and her friends. They say, stay away. We don't want to be around you. You're not okay for us to be around because you are not appropriate. You do not socialize appropriately. This made Joe feel very bad, very bad. And so you can see I've got some pink on his cheeks because he was blushing because he was embarrassed. He didn't realize what he was doing that was so bad. He was trying to connect with others. Oh, okay. So we're going to now change our story. So let me get to where Joe does something differently. Let me see here. And it is when he texts with Susie right here. Okay. So remember this story? Not a good story. But we're going to change the story. And Joe is learning how to socialize appropriately that is helpful and not hurtful. So there we go. Now Susie's like, this guy's kind of cool. I kind of like him. He's going to be fun to be around. And so now when Susie and her friends show up, they're like, hey, Joe, you want to come hang with us? And Joe feels so good. He feels so good that these people, he's making a connection. And so those are our two stories. The first story, don't like so much. Poor Joe. We feel so bad for him. The second story, that's a good story. Joe's making connections. He's making friends. It's wonderful. So anyways, but we can, the categories of the helpful versus hurtful, they need to be very concrete. They need to be specific examples. This was a specific example about texting. There can be specific examples about touching or even talking, but you can use live examples that come to your conversations with your children, with your teenagers every day. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.